Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palalahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum Om Ya Namo Guru Bhazadete Lojana Tarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Palahum. Another, I will read this just briefly. We won't, I just randomly opened a page and found something related to that point about don't run around looking for Lama to point out nature of mind for you, as if, you know, you can randomly rely on anyone. So then you said, oh, what should I do? Because I heard some Rinpoche said, oh, you need a guru, yeah? So here, this is Drakpa Jungne advising. Remember, he in the first that we read, right? He said, don't be so proud, you know, even though the guru has passed, he has his immediate disciples, you should not let your pride prevent you from seeking help from them. But at the same time, he also says this. So this really helps us to kind of understand. And especially in our situation, you know, like, because sometimes we spend so much time thinking and pointlessly kind of, oh, if only my guru is so and so, oh, if only blah blah blah, you know, things like that. It's just a complete waste of time. So here Tapajune say, only someone like Jigten Sumgen is a supreme teacher who can make you realize this. So right before that, he's talking about realizing like nature of mind. Therefore, we should focus all our devotion on such an all-knowing exalted one, like Jigten Sumgen. Now, of course, you know, you say, oh, what about Guru Rinpoche? Okay, we're not saying don't focus on Guru Rinpoche. If you have a relationship like that with Guru Rinpoche, then it's Guru Rinpoche. Yeah, if you have a relationship like that with, you know, Je Rinpoche Tsongkhapa, then it's Je Rinpoche Tsongkhapa. Okay? Now he's talking to his fellow Drugong people. Yeah? As for other lamas, yeah, again, he's not talking about, you know, the other lamas. He's saying within our family. As for other lamas, it is sufficient to pay them the respect they are due. But when we develop devotion for an all-knowing one such as Jigten Sumgen, we will be able to realize the mind whose essence is the three kinds of awakening. Once we have realized it, we must enter into the meditative absorption of that realization. So he says, you develop devotion to Jigten Sumgen. So that means, you know, studying his teachings. I mean, these were people who saw him, who heard. So now we did not hear, you know, but we can hear from his teachings that still exist. So basically, then it's enough. Then as for other lamas, the teaching assistants and even teaching assistants, they are more skilled and less skilled. He said, yeah, of course you're respectful to them, but you don't need to get into this messiness of like, are you my guru? Are you not my guru? Or, you know, do you know the nature of mind? Do you know the nature of mind? It's like, it's not necessary. Drapajune says. So, okay. Next text is the leprosy text, because that text, you know, that teaching, he gave as an account of what happened to him. Yes, yeah. It's sharing now. It's called A Song of Personal Experience with the Driving Away of Leprosy. Yeah. So some background. So now I'll give you a little bit about his biography. I think at some point, for you Drugong people, we can look at his biography bit by bit. It's fascinating. So many things you can learn from his biography. So basically, he lived in the 12th century. He was born in eastern Tibet. Then eventually made his way to central Tibet and met his main teacher, Pomodrupa. But before Pomodrupa, which was maybe at the age of like, I don't know, what, 30s, he met Pomodrupa. Before he met Pomodrupa, he was born in a religious family. His father was the head of a community of practitioners of Vajra Bhairava, a form of Yamantaka, wrathful Manjushri. In fact, it said that in that group there were 500 practitioners, of which his father was the head of this group. So from young, his father already taught him. Then later, his father passed away. Then his uncle became his main teacher. And uncle taught him Vajakilaya. So then he became an expert in Vajakilaya, again at a very young age. In fact, he was able to use his practice of Vajakilaya to heal a lot of people, solve a lot of problems for local people that came to him. Then other Vajakilaya practitioners met him and didn't think he knew much about Vajakilaya. According to his biography, when they started to ask him questions, he could give very clear explanation about how to practice Vajakilaya that just kind of surprised everyone. So he practiced that. Then later, mother died, father died, and then even sister died. I think he had one sister. So sister died. Then he continued his own study, and he could read very well. And it said that, so reason why, later when he taught, he could quote, is because he was paid to read texts. It's a way for people to accumulate merit. Even today, people would make an offering to someone and said, come to my house and read 12 volumes. So maybe you'll read for 3 months. So people pay you to read the text out loud. It's a way to accumulate merit. So especially busy people, they cannot do it themselves. Then they say, at least if I sponsor someone to read these texts, it's beneficial. So there's that kind of, heartfelt, So he earned his living, supporting first, when the father died, supporting the mother, and then mother died, and also continuing to support the sister and himself by reading texts, sutras. Then also he learned from Kadampa teachers, and then he received Vajrayogini empowerment from one, I think, Kadampa Lama, and practiced Vajrayogini. He got Mahamudra instructions. So he already was very advanced in his knowledge and in his practice. But nonetheless, it is said that when he heard Pamudrupa's name, it kind of you could say, it stirred something in him and said, I have to see this person. I think he's my teacher. I have to go. So he traveled from eastern Tibet to central Tibet and found Pamudrupa. At that time, Pamudrupa was a very prominent teacher in central Tibet. It is said that he again had 500. This number is a little suspicious. Everybody has 500. So maybe more than 500, maybe less than 500, I think the number 500 is because when Buddha passed away, it is said that there were 500 arhats that survived him. So I think that's where the number comes from. Oh, he has 500. So it's a way of saying, like the Buddha. So Pamudrupa had 500 disciples. And it said that these 500 disciples, they were all masters in their own right. So they had their own disciples. But they were all training with Pamudrupa. They were all fully ordained monks. When Jigten Sumgön came, he was a layperson. So it is said that before he came, Pamudrupa, the months and leading up to Jigten Sumgön turning up, Pamudrupa will say things like, oh, he started his journey. And people are like, who? It's like, the one who will receive my dharma completely, he said. Oh, he has started his journey. Then he would say things like, oh, he's having a hard time. oh, he has arrived, you know, things like that. So the day before or something like that, he said, you know, he's almost here. So by the time he came, you know, people are like, huh? This guy? They expected a monk, a prominent monk, because so many of the disciples were prominent people. It's like, who is this guy? And they said that he looked really bad. Like he was so poor. You know, and there were other people from his area, and they were all doing really well. They have a lot of, you know, resources. And they said that he was dressed so bad that the people from his area said, hey, come on, you are embarrassing us. You know, why don't you borrow some money and look better? Because people came from different areas, and every area is very proud, you know. I think like Mexico too, you know. Every area, everyone is like, you know, our area, you know, don't embarrass us, okay? You get lost, you know, if you're going to live like this. But he didn't care, you know. He said, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to see my Lama. So he had to wait for 3 days, it is said. Pamodrupa said, yeah, not yet. Yeah, not yet. Next day, he's like, can I? No. Finally, the 3rd day, Pamodrupa said, okay, come. So he had a horse and some other things he offered to Pamodrupa. Pamodrupa said, no, I cannot accept your horse. Because if I accept your horse, that means I'm going to die soon. There's some kind of interdependence. Because horse is for traveling. So if you give your guru a horse, you're saying go somewhere else. Yeah, so don't give your guru a car, you know, even if you're very rich, because that means, you know, go somewhere else. So these are things that, you know, Pamodrupa knew. And it said that Pamodrupa was very harsh with him. Without him there, Pamodrupa is saying to everyone, my real successor is coming, my real successor is coming. Once he got there, Pamodrupa was very, you know, tough with him. So he said that he was so sad. You see, he probably heard, once he got there, people are like, wait, are you the one? Right? But then Pamodrupa basically just, you could say, you know, kind of slapped him in the face. Because it's very clear he was very proud. He had a lot of pride. In fact, in his biography, it's very clear. His biography is not full of praises, you know. Of course, they praise him, but also very honest. He said, a lot of pride. His pride is like, you know, I'm dressed like a beggar. Oh, you monks wearing silk. What kind of monks are you? That kind of pride, you know. Then I'm sure he heard, you know, Pamodrupa making prediction. And then Pamodrupa at one point he said, my main successor is an upasaka, a lay person. And then he was like, I'm the lay person. You know? So in fact, later Pamodrupa said, hey, you should become a monk. He's like, no, it's okay, I don't need. Pride. He said, I don't need. Because he thought, he said, you know, I don't even need to be a monk. I'm better than these 500. Why do I need to become a monk? It was a lot of pride. Then after a few days, Pamodrupa gave him instructions for 2 days continuously. And he told all his other disciples, next 2 days, I'm not teaching. You guys just meditate in your hut. Then he called Jitendra. So again, you know, I'm sure people were noticing. So then Jitendra, 2 days, was so happy, so satisfied. Yeah? So happy, so satisfied. Then it said, he stopped going to teachings. He said, he gave me all the best stuff. So I'm now just going to stay and meditate. Again, pride. So some people came and said, you came all the way from the east. Just 2 days. You think you got everything from him. Then he was like, oh, eesh. Then from that point, it said, you know, he went to every teaching and did not miss any of the teachings. Probably, I suspect he didn't want to go to the teachings also because he's a layperson, so he has to sit all the way in the back. Again, pride. Then another time it said, see, when people come from other places, they usually bring a lot of, or not a lot, they bring whatever stuff they can bring from where they come from, because you can trade them. So it said that he brought along 2 like leather bags. So he was counting on selling these bags so that he can get some money, because you have to support yourself. You go to like place like that, there's no like monastery providing you food. You have to figure out your own. So he had these 2 bags, you know. So it said that one of Pamadrupa's main disciple, well-respected monk, you know, maybe older. So the monk said, how much these bags? Then Jiten Sumgön thought, oh, he's like one of the more senior monks here. So then Jiten Sumgön said, oh, just whatever you want to pay me, it's fine. So it said that this disciple gave him just a few dollars, you know, and took the bags and went. Oh, Jiten Sumgön was furious. He said, the best disciple is so greedy. All the other monks are hopeless. So it's not real generosity. Then when this monk behaved like this, you know, he said, if the best disciple is like that, taking advantage of poor me, the rest hopeless. But again, it said after a few days, he realized, yeesh, that was bad. So it said that he went to each of them, all 500, to apologize. Sorry. I thought bad things about you and I don't even know you. Which is what we all do, you know. We see one person, then we conclude, you know. And even that one person, you know, who knows, you know. Maybe Pamadrupa sent him and said, just give him $5. See how he reacts, you know. If real generosity or not, you know. Real non-attachment or not, you know. So anyway, he spent 2.5 years, sometime like that. Then Pamadrupa passed away. Then he left. This is a pattern that you see with the early Kagyupas. Whenever the teacher passed away, first thing is, once they finish the funeral, all the things that needs to be done, then the disciples go into retreat. Because they feel like, now I really need to practice. Because no more receiving teachings. Teacher already passed. Go into strict retreat to try to stabilize as much as you can from what you have received. So he went into first retreat for 3 years. Then he faced some difficulties, came out of retreat, and went to Pamadrupa's main disciples and got advice and teachings from them. Then he went back into retreat. Altogether, 7 years. During the second retreat that he went back into, he contracted leprosy. In his time, leprosy is death sentence. Yeah, like today, you know, like whatever death sentence that you get, like AIDS or, COVID. You know, yeah, COVID. COVID is very fast. Leprosy takes a long time, you know, before it kills you. So, yeah, like cancer, you know. And it said that he was so disappointed. And he thought, you know, what kind of practitioner am I? He was ashamed. Because at that time, he was really very well respected. In fact, when Pamodrupa died, right, the chief mourner for the funeral was him. So that means within those 2 years, even though he was a layperson, everybody understood that Pamodrupa thought very highly of him. They even let him lead all the funeral rituals and ceremony. It's like the oldest son, you know. But he was only there for a short time compared to all the others. So again, you know, he felt very confident of his own abilities, but then he got leprosy. And then it said, you know, he was very embarrassed. He tried to tell his sponsors, I did not know that I have leprosy when I accepted your offerings. It's not that I pretend. Because he was concerned what other people thought of him. So to get leprosy when you are such like a well-respected teacher, and also he was able to cure leprosy earlier. People with leprosy went to him, somehow he healed them. Now he himself has this, and it cannot heal. So he was really disappointed, and even you could say he was depressed. So in this song, it talks about that. Yeah, in this song, it talks about that. So let's look at this song. So this is him telling this to one of his disciples. My son, I sought out a precious and authentic guru of the Vajra vehicle of secret mantra. Perceiving him to be Buddha in person, I received many complete empowerments from the mandala of the Lord's exalted body. So meaning that he received many empowerments from Pamodrupa. But here empowerment, I don't believe. It's like the ritual that we attend. This is like truly, meaning in the presence of his guru, his mind was ripened. Because what's the purpose of empowerment? To ripen our potential. So here, we should not take so literally. Because I don't think he received classical empowerments, that many from Pamodrupa. Because like a lot of the practices that we do, when you look at the lineage, Jigten Sungman got it from Pamodrupa, or Jigten Sungman got it from someone else. So anyway, here, the gist is more. So this word empowerment, we should not just think that it's the ritual that we are used to. The real meaning of empowerment is to give power. To give power to do what? To give power to mature. So it's like the seeds are already in the ground. When you provide enough sun, when you provide enough moisture, it will sprout. That's empowerment. So Pamodrupa ripened his seeds. Is what it's saying. Ripen his potential. Then they flourished. So from the mandala of the Lord's exalted body, meaning he saw Pamodrupa as a complete mandala, meaning that he is a Buddha. He saw his teacher as Buddha. So he blessed me with his exalted body, speech, and mind, and granted me the oral instructions with which I practice the true nature of both body and mind on the path, and thereby gain experience in the meaning of non-duality. So through Pamodrupa's body, speech, and mind, meaning Pamodrupa's actions, Pamodrupa's instructions, and Pamodrupa's heart, Jigten Sungman could feel the benefit. And when we say, you know, like, I got the blessings of body, speech, and mind, sometimes we think, you know, like, oh, it's, ooh, you know. No, it means when you're able to see how the Guru's actions is helping someone or helping us, that's the blessing of the Guru's body. When we're able to hear the Guru's words and those teachings enter our heart, that's the speech blessings. When just being around the Guru, we are inspired, you know, to be better people. That's the Guru's mind blessing us. That's the meaning of body, speech, and mind blessings. And he granted me the oral instructions. Here, oral instructions means not just like oral as opposed to written instructions. Here it means, you know, there are general teachings that, you know, a teacher might give, and then there are specific to each person. Like pointers, we say. Everybody gets the recipe of how to cook something, but then you need pointers. So the Guru comes, sees how you prepare the food. I say, no, 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 cut it this way. You see, you cut this way, this way, this way. So those are the oral instructions, meaning personalized instructions. So with that, I practice the true nature of both body and mind on the path. So the body and the mind has its true nature. Right now, we don't see that true nature. Maybe now we already have some glimpse, yeah, some glimpse, yeah, some slight glimpse, yeah. But in the end, what are we practicing? We are practicing the true nature of our body and mind. That is what the path is. It's not learning about a whole bunch of stuff. And all our learning in Dharma has to be geared towards understanding true nature of body and mind. As Kong in Myanmar shared earlier, you know, like you know, we can learn so much, you know. In fact, like Gelugpa scholarship, you know, is really the like full fruition of Indian Nalanda tradition. They really brought that in and became great scholars. Sakyapa tradition, you know, experts in tantric commentary. Gelugpa may be expert in sutra, you know, Madhyamaka. So these are real, like amazing. So Dalai Lama today, you know, these days want to emphasize that part, learning, which makes a lot of sense, because with other people, yeah, logic, reasoning, reason thinking, right, is very necessary for people from other traditions. So there's a reason why Dalai Lama emphasized that. But it's also true that the Kagyupa style is, no, 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 don't learn so much. Look at your mind. Look at your mind, you know. If you can read another book or look at your mind, look at your mind. You have already read enough books. That's the Kagyupa style. Okay, enough books. Look at your mind, you know. So whether how many books we want to read, how many courses we want to join, it doesn't matter. If, again, right, the purpose is so that we can understand our mind better. So from that perspective, a lot of learning is not a problem, because if you can use that, so like the other point made, right? The teachings themselves don't have Mahayana, Hinayana, fast, slow, good, bad, high, low. No. It's the people who are handling the teachings. So even a lot of scholarship, a lot of categories, a lot of 1.1, 1.1.2, 2.2, 2.3. If you know how to use that, to use it to look at the mind, that's the method. When he says, you know, like the other title, the path of methods is not enough, that's what it means, not enough. It's sort of like if you gather a lot of tools, you know, but you never use them, you have a big tool shop, you know. Maybe you have a lot of friends because they will come borrow the tools. Yeah, so it's beneficial, you know. A lot of people need tools, they'll come to you. There's like, we don't need to buy one, we can just go borrow from him. He has so many tools, you know. But it's a shame, you know, if you don't use the tools. That's the point, yeah. And so by training, another word for practicing is to cultivate. I cultivated the true nature of the body and mind on the path, and thereby gain experience in the meaning of non-duality. So here, gain experience is not yet realization. That means he has some experience now of what non-duality is. Yeah? Then, at that time, and under those circumstances, yeah, so he said, I have some experience now in the Dharma. Through Pamodrupa's kindness and blessings and everything. At that time and under those circumstances, I had not the opportunity to rely on him for long before he, the protector of the world, passed into nirvana. Yeah? So he was with Pamodrupa about 2.5 years. Yeah? Then Pamodrupa passed. Okay, so let's go further down. He passed into nirvana. Go further down. Yeah. With no means of holding back my sorrow, I recollected the protector of the world's kindness, and I went to a mountain hermitage. He went into retreat. He said he was so sad by Pamodrupa's passing. Then remembering Pamodrupa's kindness, and what is Pamodrupa's kindness? The Dharma that Pamodrupa has given him. So he said, to repay that kindness, now is time to put into meditation, to practice, to cultivate. So he went into a mountain hermitage. Turning my back on the 8 worldly concerns and severing any attachment to food and clothing, I meditated continuously within the state of the mind's non-duality. Right? So he already experienced the oneness nature of his mind and all phenomena. Now he continued to do that. Through the sublime Guru's kindness and my own unceasing diligence, the negative karma of misdeeds and defilements that were accumulated from time without beginning came to full fruition. We think, you know, if I practice enough Dharma, negative karma would just poof. Here he says, no, they quickly come into fruition. This is the polishing.
Yes.
Us, can I have silk? Can I have silk? No silk? Oh, maybe another day.
We're gonna talk tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. I'll come back and see if you have silk. Yeah, and then we pray so much, you know. Even like Dharmapala, Tara, no, please, please, only silk, only silk. And then at the same time we say, may I swiftly become Buddha. You know, Tara has a hard job, you know. One side you say, please, 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 may I quickly become Buddha. Another side, I don't want anything but silk. It hurts. My body can only stand silk. You know, and pure silk, please. Yes. It's like tough job, you know, for Tara. One side you want to be Buddha, the other side you don't want to polish. Then how? So here he says, you know, my diligence, so interdependence, his own diligence, his guru's blessings. Then what happened? He said, and so I was struck by the difficult to cure illness, leprosy. He contracted the most dreadful sickness, because that sickness is not just pain, it's also shame. And especially for him, you know, pride is such a constant for him. Yeah. Even now, not ordinary pride, but still, you know, kind of spiritual pride. It was very hard for him to get leprosy. If he got something else where people don't have moral judgment, you know, some disease people don't have any moral judgment. Some disease even now, you know, people morally judge you for having that disease. Like for example, when AIDS was really, you know, all kinds of judgment. Leprosy was that kind of illness. Because they also believe that leprosy is like Naga invading you. So you're possessed by evil. Yeah. So he got leprosy. The worst kind of illness. Ashamed and in pain. In pain, he cannot, his pride doesn't allow him to go ask for help. Because then people will know that he has leprosy. And he doesn't go, and he is in pain. So really in a bind. Thinking that it would be better to just die. His pride was so strong, you know. Better I just die here. Not just pride. I mean, to be fair, he also felt like he didn't want the people who provided him all he needed to regret supporting him. Yeah, like, you know, like it will make people like regret supporting Dharma. So he also wanted to protect them from that. Yeah. So thinking that it would be better to just die, I became a beggar left behind in the wilderness of a mountain hermitage. That's terrible. Just being a beggar is bad enough, but a beggar stuck in the middle of nowhere, who are you going to beg from?
Yeah.
Right? He was already a beggar by going into retreat. He begged for all the support. A sack of barley flour, some tea, some butter that will last him for months and months, you know, eating very simple. He was already a beggar, but now he's a beggar stuck with no one to give him what he needs. And with no books of oral instruction anywhere around me, there was also not a single person to inquire whether I was sick, meaning nobody even cared. Nobody even knew if I was sick. And then teacher is gone. The books of oral instruction are basically like, some of these are written down so that when you have any problems, you can consult and see, oh, this problem, that problem, I should do this or I should do that. Yeah. And I had no one to administer mantra or medicine to me. And so mantra was a form of healing, even physical illness. Yeah, people use mantra, people use medicine. And he said, but both these ways of healing, not available to me. Yeah. Then he says, yeah, at that time and under those circumstances, with devotion devoid of any pretense to my Guru, unrivaled protector, I relied on unceasing mindfulness. Within that samadhi that recognizes, samadhi means the evenness of mind, this state of meditative evenness that recognizes illness as mind. Then he continued, even though he prayed to Pamadrupa. Then Pamadrupa's instruction became fresh again in his mind. Like right now then, this illness, all appearances are mind. So now the appearance of sickness has arisen. See that it's going on in your mind. And see that it's going on in your mind. So he practiced that. Within 3 nights and 4 days. So it said that he settled in this meditation, this realization, for 3 nights and 4 days. My negative karma was naturally purified. I might change this word. I was talking to the translators. I said, I don't like naturally here. It's not naturally, I feel. It's more my negative karma was not completely. It's related to naturally. It's sort of like my negative karma was well, okay, let me explain why the word naturally is used here. It's not naturally like leave it alone and naturally it will become better. No, karma cannot be purified that way. That's my problem with the word naturally. Of course, the word naturally can be used in many ways, like natural medicine, you know. But sometimes naturally sounds like without doing anything,
it will come.
It will come. No, karma can never be purified that way. So what is communicating here is naturally means in accordance with the nature of things.
Okay.
If you do things in accordance to the nature of how karma can be purified, then it will be purified. But if you do the opposite, it will not be purified. It might even get worse. So naturally, in that sense. Not like by itself. It doesn't mean that. My negative karma was, in other words, to rephrase that would be, my negative karma was purified according to nature. The way things are. Rather than artificially purified. I understood this to be a vital point of interdependent cause and effect. He understood from his realization. So his realization wasn't only that all appearances are mind only. His realization also involved understanding karma. Why that leprosy came to him, how he could get rid of it. He understood all of that. So in fact, one of the characteristics of Jigten Sumgön's teachings is, he says, realization of emptiness is a preliminary point. Necessary point, but it's not yet. It's not full realization until you know exactly how everything is related to everything else, how doing this thing will cause this to result, doing that thing will cause that to result. Jigten Sumgön says, right now, you know, say, no, Jigten Sumgön did not say phone, but if you put down like that, you think no meaning. Yeah? If I put down my phone like this, I think no meaning. Jigten Sumgon looks at this action. He knows what this has started. How this action will result in whatever. Yes, he can see that. So he said, if you cannot see that, you are not yet. So even if you think, oh, emptiness, oh yes, oh, I'm free, I'm no longer bound, you know, it's like, yeah, that's just, we say not full stop, you know, just semicolon, comma in a sentence, you know, you have to continue going. But at this point, he understood this vital point about interdependent cause and effect. The treasury of profound secret mantra having revealed itself, the real treasure of secret mantra is interdependence. My clinging to the duality of meditative equipoise and post-meditation was purified into great non-dual luminosity. So he says, at that point, so in Buddhist discussion or description of like the process, it said that until we are Buddhists, we will be living our life in basically two types of consciousness: meditative consciousness, and when we get out of that and walk around and do things, that's the post-meditation. So until we are Buddhists, like the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva, 9th Bhumi Bodhisattva, 7th Bhumi Bodhisattva, all of them, right? They need to remain in meditative state in order to have like the non-dual realization of emptiness and form. Emptiness and cause and effect as non-dual. If you're not yet Buddha, to be able to remain with that realization, you have to be, your mind has to be still. But when you're a Buddha, then for them, right, when they get up from that stillness of mind, the non-duality is gone. They will go back and forth between seeing emptiness, seeing karma, seeing emptiness, seeing karma. It becomes dual again. Well, of course, their duality at that point is not like ours. Ours like North Pole and South Pole. There is between this side of the hair and this side of the hair. That much, you know. But still, it's dual. But when you're Buddha, it's non-dual. Whether you are still or whether you're moving, it's non-dual. So he's basically saying, I have reached that point. My clinging or my being stuck in the two states of either meditative equipoise or post-meditation was purified into great non-dual luminosity. As I wondered whether I was a lord of yogis, I saw, so sort of like, you know, am I there yet, you know? Kind of like, am I the lord of yogis now? I mean, the lord of all practitioners now? Then he said, I saw the fierce negative karma of leprosy. At that point was an oral instruction on emptiness and compassion. He saw that, he understood that at that point. So according to his biography, what happened was this. He was in so much pain. He tried to leave his cave to get help. But then at that moment, he realized, this is pointless. Nobody can help me anymore. Then he decided, I'm going to go back in the cave. And if I die, then that's fine. I will just die here. Then in that moment, it said that like tremendous waves of compassion arose in him. And because then in that moment he thought, if someone like me, with so much guidance from a perfect guru like Pamadrupa, is here feeling pity for myself, oh my God, what about all the other beings in the whole universe who is not fortunate like me? What about them? And it said that this happened when he has a statue of Thousand-Armed Chenrezig in his cave, which Pamadrupa blessed many, many times. Yeah? So the last moment, he was in so much pain, right? Then he felt this tremendous compassion and said, here I am, still thinking about myself. What about all the others who don't have what I have been given? Then in that moment, he made prostration to the Chenrezig, Thousand-Armed Chenrezig statue, and he fell and he passed out, it said. When he woke up, leprosy was gone. So I saw, I understood that not only my negative karma ripening and therefore I got leprosy, but I also saw how the emptiness of this and compassion is inseparable. And this has come to be known as driving away leprosy, which is how he healed himself of leprosy. This is like a blessing from my sublime guru. And he understood now completely. I felt that I should pay respect to the masters and train in the complete liberation of their exalted body, speech, and mind. I have not performed Ganachakras of meat and beer with conduct driven by a craving for consumption. A lot of times, these Ganachakra is an excuse for people to party. Oh yes, even their time, and he said no, there is beer and meat, and he's like I have not done that. As such, I have merely managed not to disgrace the protector of wandering beings, Pamadrupa. He calls him Drogon. Now, even if I am to die, I will have no regrets. Now, even as I grow old, I will have no fear. As I preside over Ganachaka practices with the group, and now he's talking about now. So that story about leprosy, it's over. Now it's back to the present where he is singing this. As I preside over Ganachakra, because he's the head of his community now. That's what he means. I have no bias or prejudice towards my disciples. And because also, these gatherings, right? It's all very much, people are like, where you sit, how close to the Guru, how far to the Guru, how much you get, when the food is distributed, if the Guru gives you more, if the Guru gives you less. All of that is going on in a lot of these Ganachakras. He's saying here, I have no bias. I see all of them as equal. I have engaged neither in accepting nor rejecting samsara. Meaning at this point, of course, not accepting samsara, yes. What about not rejecting? Well, there's nothing to reject anymore because samsara doesn't exist for him anymore. What is there to reject? I have not explained the sublime dharma to gain wealth. I says, my giving dharma has nothing to do with collecting wealth, which apparently during that time, it was a lot of that going on, even then, not just now. In fact, then, teachers are very explicit, like Marpa. Of course, Marpa wasn't accumulating wealth, but Marpa said, hey, Milarepa, you have nothing. How can I give you teachings? Like go find some stuff. I cannot give you these teachings. I work so hard to get them. So quite direct, In fact, it is said that Marpa had a reputation for being a very expensive teacher. Yeah. People gossip. But Marpa didn't care. He didn't care. It takes a lot of guts, I mean, one way you don't care is because you're actually greedy. Then you don't care, In Marpa's case, because of, what we know now, it's not because he's greedy. But he understood, Easy come, easy go. Yeah, things that you can get easily, you don't value. Unfortunately, the charlatans figured that out. You can watch, on YouTube, these people. They charge like $3,000 for 2-hour seminar. It's really clever. Really clever. Because after you have paid $3,000, you'll make it work. It's nothing to do with the guy. So in a way, it's very smart also. So if the guy actually has bodhicitta, so sometimes, it's hard for us to judge in that case. If they really have bodhicitta, they understand the interdependence. So they said, this session, 5,000. You don't have 5,000, don't come. After you pay 5,000, you will make it work. Yeah.
You already paid for it.
Yeah, you already paid for it. You feel stupid. Even if it doesn't work, you will make it work. And it will work for you. It will change you. Possible. But unfortunately, we also know there's a lot of charlatans that get rich by doing that. Anyway. I've not explained the sublime dharma to gain wealth, but a lot of wealth came to Drikung. One of his disciples, we already saw his name here, Venerable Nyo. He said 2 names, right? One is Nyo, one is, who was it again? On. On was Jiten Sumgan's nephew. And Nyo is from the Nyo family. His name was Nyo Gyawala Nangpa. Nyo is interesting. Nyo was one of the, he came from a very prominent family in Tibet during that time, in central Tibet. One of the richest family. So he used all his wealth to seek Dharma. So ended his family wealth. But he Jiten Sungwen sent him to what is today Bhutan. So he went there and he started his own community. And so they, at one point, they were known as Lapa Kagyu. Lanang. Lapa Kagyu. And in fact, today, the main seat of government in Thimphu, which is both the monastic and the secular, the king and the monastery is there. That building, the original of that building was built by Nyo Gyawala Nangpa. A later tradition came and replaced that. Drukpa Kagyu took over. But before Drukpa Kagyu was in Bhutan, Drikung was already there. But it was not known as Drikung. It was known as Lapa because of Lanang. Nyo Lanangpa. And Nyok Lanangpa had so much wealth. It said that he offered, right, great offerings to Jidin Sungwan, maybe either twice or 3 times. The final offering he gave Jidin Sungwan is said he had so much that he gave to Jidin Sungwan that he lined up, you know, all the yak carrying all this stuff, right? They say that when the first yak has arrived in central Tibet in Drigong, the last yak has not left Bhutan. The caravan. That much. It's a long way from central Tibet to Bhutan. Yeah, when the first yak has arrived, meaning like if it's truck today, you know, the first truck have arrived in Cancun, the last truck have not left Mexico yet. That much he gave Jidin Sungam. As far as we can tell, Jidin Sungam himself never really used the wealth for himself. Always very basic. Right? Instead, he used that wealth to support all these people going into retreat. And he put all the wealth especially to build Pamodrupa's stupa. Pamodrupa's stupa is very famous. It's called Tashi Gomang. A few years ago, there was an exhibition in New York City at the Asia Society. They collected pieces that are spread throughout the world now in the black market, in private collection, during Cultural Revolution, in Drigong and in Densatil, Pamodrupa's monastery. After the original Tashi Gomang that Jigten Samgon built for his teacher in Densatil, Pamodrupa's monastery, he built another one in Drigong Til. Then when he passed away, I think his disciples also built one for him. But this kind of stupa is not like what we see. This kind of stupa, later I'll find pictures and show you. It's indoor and about 20 feet high, and every level is statues. And so, and the most basic is offering goddesses, and then on top of them is deities and deities and deities until Vajradhara is at the top. So each of these stupas, over maybe 2,000 statues, big and small. So these statues are now, during Cultural Revolution, there were 8 of these stupas. They were all destroyed. Then people stole all the statues out to sell in antique markets. Yeah. So Jidin Sunggon and all these craftsmen was brought from Nepal, not Tibetans, to build this. Gold, silver, Z, coral, turquoise, everything. Jidin Sunggon left inventory describing, or Sherab Jungne, I think, describing every level, you know, what deity, how much gold was used for this stupa. Yeah. So anyway, I have taken up the burden of the masters of bygone times. Even if I become inspired and talk excessively, I will continue to train in the footsteps of masters of bygone times who presided over Gana Chakras, meaning led their communities. Since I have at least managed not to become a ghost, not, you know, died and become a ghost and embarrass his teacher, who damages the teachings of the protector, the lion of the Shakyas, Shakyamuni. Now, even if I am to die, I will have no regrets. Now, even as I grow old, I will have no fear. This is probably towards the end of his life that he related this teaching, this song. Yeah, so it's about his enlightenment And then it's also about his old age, reminiscing what happened. Okay, we can unshare. Oh, so we have reached the full 4 hours that I said maybe it won't happen. Unfortunately, it's impossible to talk my way to enlightenment. So I think I'll be stuck a long time. Just talking. Any questions or comments? Anybody? Say something so that I know you are still there.
Totally first of all, thank you.
Yeah.
But second of all, I'm just curious to see who's there in the room with you. When you showed us, I couldn't recognize.
Oh, let's see. Jose Luis, Magda, Alicia, Elena, Rodrigo, Mariana, the supervisor who had a bad date last night. No, I made up that story. And Olivia, and then Gabriel, and Omar is over there, and Marilu is here. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think you probably would recognize Jose Luis, Magda, Alicia, Elena, Marilu, and Omar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the calls on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Saludos.
Yeah.
Saludos. ¿Cuándo vienes?
¿Quién es?
Te esperamos.
Okay, folks, thank you for the teaching.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the night, folks.
Okay, it's getting late. Yes, yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Jigden Sumgan's anniversary, then the puja with His Holiness and the transmission, which is 8:30 Malaysia time, Saturday evening, which is your Saturday now in Malaysia. 8:30 evening on Facebook and YouTube live. So yeah, good.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Changju sem chorim poche ma ge ba nam ge gyu chi ge ba nyam pa me pa yang o ne gong du May the teachings of the great Drikungpa Ratnashri, the all-knowing Dharma Lord, Master of Interdependence, continue to increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Okay, good night, tata.
Thank you. Ciao for now. Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.
A comer
Bye.
tacos.
Bye.